From an everyday GMC Sierra 3500 to Jackie Chan's high-tech Japanese Subaru and even the Sheikh's Rolls-Royce, all the cars in Cannonball Run were iconic and perfectly tailored to the characters on screen. But which one stayed etched in fans' minds the longest? Keep watching to find out. GMC Sierra 3500. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you liked the video so far. In the Cannonball Run, there is a big beastly GMC Sierra class truck ripping through trees and off-road terrain during one of the race's wildest early scenes, and fans absolutely love how random and unpredictable it is to see a big truck like this in a madcap cross-country race. When you think about a modern GMC Sierra 3500, you're talking about a heavy-duty pickup built to go the distance. This is exactly the kind of rig that can handle massive fuel loads, a big crew, and even breaking trail through rough terrain. For example, a 2025 Sierra 3500 with the standard 6.6-liter V8 gasoline engine makes about 401 horsepower at 5,200 revolutions per minute and 464 pound-feet of torque at 4,000 revolutions per minute through an automatic Allison 10-speed transmission, and you can fit a 36-gallon fuel tank for a huge range. Opt for the 6.6-liter Duramax turbo diesel V8, and its torque balloon jumps to around 975 pound-feet, ideal for heavy hauling or towing, and paired with the same 10-speed box. That brawn with insane torque, enormous fuel capacity, and truck-grade toughness is exactly what makes a Sierra like this such a hilarious and surprisingly sensible choice for a wild, over-the-top race like the Cannonball, which is why it became memorable instantly and made it on the list. Aston Martin DB5. One of the most unforgettable things about the Aston Martin DB5 that Roger Moore's Seymour Goldfarb Jr. barrels across the Cannonball Run in is the fact that 007 drove one of these in a movie. The DB5 itself isn't just some random vintage GT. It's one of the most legendary Grand Tours ever built. First launched by Aston Martin in 1963 with a 4.0-liter all-aluminum straight-six engine that produced about 282 brake horsepower and let the car smash that like button. Just like you should if you haven't done so already. But no, in all seriousness, it let the car sprint to around 145 miles per hour with a 0 to 60 miles per hour in roughly 8 seconds thanks to its ZF 5-speed gearbox and 3 SU carburetors. That performance was top tier in its day, and it came wrapped in a beautifully balanced 2+2 coupe with wool carpets, reclining seats, leather trim, electric windows, and chrome wire wheels that screamed British luxury and refinement. What most of us remember, of course, are the James Bond add-ons that followed. We're talking machine guns tucked behind indicators, an ejector seat hidden in the roof, revolving number plates, a radar tracker, a smoke screen, and oil slick dispensers, the whole package. In Cannonball Run, the car appears with the UK plate 6633PP, stripped of its original gadgets but dressed up with replica gizmos for the race. For a character like Seymour Goldfarb Jr., who's like a caricature of James Bond played by Moore himself, this car fits perfectly. He's not just another racer, he's a parody of suave sophistication, and nothing says suave like a DB5's elegant silhouette and Bond heritage. Subaru GLDL. I love the tech gadget cars in the Cannonball Run almost as much as the over-the-top characters themselves. And the wild little Subaru that Jackie Chan and Michael Hui pilot is one of the quirkiest. They're introduced as the two high-tech Japanese entrants in a Subaru GL/DL hatchback, tricked out with all of these nearly cartoonish-looking gadgets. We're talking rocket boosters and night vision displays. They're also famous for driving with the headlights off to sneak past police. Oh, and that car has this state-of-the-art navigation system on board to represent futuristic Japanese tech prowess. It was cool for '81. The real car, under all that Hollywood flair, is basically a 1980 Subaru DL four-wheel drive hatchback with the classic flat-4 boxer engine Subaru used at the time. Under the hood sat a 1.6-liter EA71 horizontally opposed four-cylinder that made around 68 horsepower, 50 kilowatts, at 4,800 revolutions per minute and about 84 pound-feet of torque at 2,800 revolutions per minute, paired with a 4-speed manual gearbox and selectable four-wheel drive. Inside, these Subarus had simple cloth or vinyl seats, a basic instrument cluster, and essential controls. Fitting this car to the characters in the movie was pure comedy gold. Chan and Hui play tech-savvy, brainy racers whose advantages are supposed to be computers and gadgets rather than brute speed or muscle car swagger. The choice of a humble, utilitarian Subaru, long before the brand became synonymous with rallying or performance AWD cars in the US, underlined their underdog, nerd meets innovation vibe perfectly. Dodge Tradesman. Whenever JJ McClure and Victor Prinzem roll up as the scrappy underdogs in the Cannonball Run, disguised as a legit medical emergency, they're doing it in what the film's canon and fans call a souped-up Dodge Tradesman ambulance. That's basically a Dodge B-Series van converted into an ambulance for the race, and famously, the same vehicle driven by director Hal Needham in the real 1979 Cannonball. What that means in real-world mechanical terms is that underneath the lights and sirens sat one of Dodge's full-size Tradesman/B 200 vans. It was a rugged, rear-wheel drive work-oriented hauler from the late 1970s into the early 80s. They came with a range of engines from the 225 cubic inches, 3.7 liters, slant 6 putting out roughly 95 to 100 horsepower and about 170 pound-feet of torque, to the more common 318 cubic inches, 5.2 liters, LAV8, and the optional 360 cubic inches, 5.9 liters, V8 that might see closer to 155 horsepower and 280 pound-feet in stock form. They were torque-heavy mills that made sense for hauling heavy loads rather than sprinting. Inside, these tradesman vans came with a simple vinyl-upholstered driver's seat up front, a basic dashboard with AM radio common on cargo models, and a lot of blank cargo space out back that ambulance converters would outfit with medical gear, stretchers, cabinets, and emergency lighting. Since JJ and Victor represented the everyman team, not exotic racers in sleek sports cars, but wheels-up grit and ingenuity, they captured the essence perfectly. It's all about improv, folks, and the genius of coming up with something like that. Ferrari 308 GTS. I still get hyped every time the Cannonball Run cuts to Jamie Blake and Morris Fenderbaum sliding up in their 1979 Ferrari 308 GTS, glossy red and unmistakably Italian. In real-world terms, this is a mid-engine exotic from Ferrari's golden era. Underneath that sleek Pininfarina-designed body sits a 2.9-liter, naturally aspirated V8 with a transverse layout driving the rear wheels through a 5-speed manual. Depending on the exact spec, the 308 GTS made around 237 to 255 horsepower at roughly 7,000 RPM and about 190 to 209 pound-feet of torque around 5,000 RPM, letting it sprint to around 156 miles per hour, about 252 kilometers per hour, with 0 to 60 miles per hour times in the mid-6-second range. Inside, the Ferrari's cockpit featured 2 sport seats, a gated manual shifter, and a bunch of analog gauges wrapped in leather and vinyl that made you feel like every twist of the steering wheel was a conversation between driver and machine. Its targa-top roof panel could be lifted off to let in open-air driving, a rare treat in a performance car of this class. Choosing a Ferrari for Blake and Fenderbaum, a pair of washed-up F1 drivers disguised cheekily as Catholic priests, is so absurd that it kinda works. They're supposed to be fast, flashy, and a little pretentious, and a Ferrari carries all of that in spades. Rolls-Royce. Seeing Sheikh Abdul Ben Falafel tooling across the desert in a white Rolls-Royce Silver Shadow screams oil money class and old-world British luxury. In the movie, Jamie Farr's Sheikh character is obsessed with winning the race by any means, and his Silver Shadow visually reinforces his wealth and eccentric taste. The Rolls-Royce Silver Shadow was Rolls-Royce's luxury saloon produced from 1965 until 1980 and represented a major leap forward for the brand's engineering. It rode on a unitary chassis with independent suspension and hydraulic self-leveling, giving it the famously smooth, floating-on-air ride that Rolls-Royce buyers expected. Under the long bonnet sat a big 6.75-liter V8 engine from 1970 onward, paired with a 3 or 4-speed automatic transmission that delivered effortless torque rather than raw speed. Though Rolls-Royce never officially advertised horsepower figures, later Silver Shadows made roughly 189 to 220 horsepower with a top speed in the neighborhood of 115 to 118 miles per hour, which was plenty for a car of such size and purpose. We don't really need to talk about the inside of this car, do we? Because it's simply divine, just like any other Rolls-Royce out there. For Falafel, this Rolls-Royce is the perfect foil to the rest of the chaotic race. While others are tricking out bombastic exotic sports cars or gadget-laden hatchbacks, The Sheikh lords it over the competition in a stately British limousine. 1979 Lamborghini Countach. There's no shot in the Cannonball Run more etched in my memory than watching Jill Rivers and Marcy Thatcher blast down the highway in their black Lamborghini Countach. If I turn the sound off, I can still hear that Countach in the back of my mind. That's because the 1979 Lamborghini Countach LP 400S is as dramatic and audacious as its wedge-shaped body suggests. It started production in November 1979 and featured a striking Nero black exterior with a centipede mustard interior. This Countach was already rare before it ever hit the big screen. For the film, it was fitted with a custom front spoiler, twin full-beam headlights, extra aerials, and a dozen exhaust pipes. All of these touches made it look even wilder on camera. Under that outrageous body sat a mid-mounted 3.9-liter Lamborghini 512 engine with 6 Weber carburetors and a traditional 5-speed manual transmission driving the rear wheels. In standard LP 400 form, this engine produced around 375 brake horsepower at 8,000 revolutions per minute and could push the car to roughly 290 kilometers per hour, about 180 miles per hour. With 0 to 100 kilometers per hour, 0 to 62 miles per hour, in the mid-5-second range, blistering performance for its era. For Jill and Marcy, this car is the embodiment of their character's vibe, sexy, unstoppable, and unapologetically bold. In the movie, they use not just their looks, but the Countach's sheer performance and style to outmaneuver police and rivals alike, leaning into fantasy and flash with every scissor door leap. It's a perfect match. Thanks for watching. Here's another video car enthusiasts loved watching.